In Toronto within the last 2 weeks, and I've got to get out of these bright lights. I'm going to stand over here so everybody can see me. And the way that this starts is, I'm here for you. This is an hour, or now it's only 50 minutes, so we have to get to drinking right away. In fact, what do you have, one glass in your hand?
Yeah.
Which is it? Sarah?
Blanco.
That's the Blanco.
Yeah.
This is Ocho Blanco. Which ranch? La Maguillera?
We have the new, I think we're on the new vintage.
The La Maguillera.
2014.
So, I don't know if any of you know a bit about this brand, but it has played with the idea of terroir. That which the wine culture follows, saying that the place where the raw material is grown affects the final product. As in wine, we could have in Vaux Romanée the same grape, the Pinot Noir, made by producer Bruno Clavinier as an example. And if it was from Beaumont, it would be different than Comte de Brulé. Why? Because those two vineyards have different terroirs. They have different influence from the natural conditions, which make them different. So this one, this Blanco, is from the highlands of Jalisco, the agaves. It has an altitude different to where the other ranches are. So right now this is the 11th ranch. And you can see what you think of this. As I'm talking along, please go ahead, nose it, ask yourself some questions of...
About the last one or the first one?
The first one. The one with no color is the Blanco. So if you would, go ahead and nose that. Take a sip, take a second sip to see what you're getting. So we're going to be talking about agave spirits. So as I'm going along here, please ask any questions, direct me in a way that would suit you so that we can use each of your time to its best extent. All right? So I'm Tomas Estes. I've been in the bar business, starting in Amsterdam and then around Europe and finally ending up in Australia for 37 years. I've got 3 places a crawl's distance away from here. 5 minutes walk, 15 minutes crawl. Well, all 3 of them in Covent Garden. The one on Langley Street's been there 32 years, so we're still promoting and serving and enjoying agave spirits. For me, it's a very important category. Thank you very much. Welcome here to all of you and to each person's good health. I thought I would give you my idea of the current state of affairs with agave spirits. Basically, this is the all-important element of agave spirits because this is the agave. Here's one that's been harvested. These are all very ready for harvest after about 8 years. Those have been planted as little pups, as hijuelitos, as offshoots from the parent plant. I don't believe we can see any here, but this plant is gives everything to the specialness of the agave spirits from which it's made. So imagine 8 years, in the case of the blue agave, 8 years average, to get to the point where it's ready to be used for making a spirit. Once it comes out of the ground, as we see here, it's finished. It's not like grapes, which may take us 3 years to get to production for reasonably good quality wine, and then it produces for 100 years, even though it decreases in its yield. This is a one-time thing. So this plant is really a survivor. It has good water, natural water, rain during 3 months, roughly, of the summer season. During the rest of the year, virtually no rain at all. So it has a very different photosynthesis. Instead of photosynthesizing chemicals during the day, it does it at night because, hello, welcome. So it actually creates its photosynthesis in a turned around way. This plant has a number of ways of reproduction. The one that is the most commercially used is little pups. These little rhizomes will come around the base of the parent plant. And they will be removed and kept and stressed for a few months, then replanted in rows. We can't see the rows here, but we will as we go through it. There are other ways which I'll show you that it also reproduces, which all is part of me wanting to sell this plant to you, to get you to think that it's as special as I think it is, because it has all these different ways of surviving, including reproducing. After 8 years of being underneath this Mexican sun in temperatures of around 20 to 30 degrees Celsius, I reckon that that energy stays in the plant through hydrolysis of being cooked. So when we cook a hamburger or a roast, it actually changes. We can see it. It looks different. It behaves different. Meat will become juicy like a roast beef. Same thing happens to the starchiness of this plant. It changes chemically from a sort of carbohydrate starch-like product into something that is sweet. I don't say it's sugar, and that's really key with this. This agave doesn't have sucrose. If we consider that we live in an addictive civilization, it's not just a culture, it's much larger than that, this addiction that we have in many things. Consider that sugar addiction is one of the biggest of this civilization of which we all take part, and it's probably one of the most destructive. The agave plant doesn't have sucrose. It has another sweetening agent. Probably a lot of you that have worked in bars use agave syrup. Much healthier, much friendlier in its assimilation, in its metabolism with our bodies. So remember, I'm trying to sell this to you, right? I'm trying to sell you all on agave spirits. If anybody doesn't believe, just be quiet until the end. And then, no, bring up anything you like. This is full participation. A lot of people ask me, Tomas, why do I feel so good with tequila? You get that same question, Gabi?
Yes.
What do you tell them? This is Gabi, by the way.
I always say that it's something to do with the energy that the agave have, and for what you just mentioned about the energy that it gets from the sun, and it transmits it to us when we drink tequila.
Does everybody hear that? And I've asked people like Miguel Cedeno, I've asked masters, men that I consider doctor professors, the same question. And they will say something similar. And then there's also this idea of the fructans, the inulins, the actual chemical makeup that is in the tequila comes into our bodies in a different way. there are fad diets and fad workouts. One, the fad diet is paleo. I think they come out of California, probably Los Angeles. The paleo diet, the CrossFit fitness, both of those advocate, if you're going to drink alcohol, any alcohol, beer, wine, not just spirit, they advocate agave spirits. So that's a good endorsement. I'm on the path of trying to prove that agave spirits are healthy for us. If I say it in Los Angeles or California, people don't like that because they still have this Puritanism and this idea of prohibition, and that alcohol basically cannot be good for you in no matter what shape or form. But the latest thing, and I ask people, please send me anything that they hear that can substantiate this idea that agave spirits are healthy. The latest thing I got was an article that supposes or proposes that agave spirits will aid in dieting, slimming. Now, how's that? And something to do with the digestion. It doesn't presuppose that we drink and don't eat, I don't believe, which some people do. So, we've got this amazing plant, we've got the energy that is, look at that beautiful Mexican sky. This is in the highlands of Jalisco, around, in between Atotonilco, Arandas, and Jesus Maria. A beautiful countryside, 2,000 meters above sea level. In the French Alps we used to ski, Jesse, my son and I used to ski there. Well, if you could call what I do ski. I sort of slip around. So we've talked about the inebriating effects. We psychotropically feel different on tequila or mezcal than we do champagne, Guinness, red wine, etc., etc. Does anybody disagree with that, or is anybody not aware of that? And the high that we get is very often a feeling of getting into it rather than getting out of it. Of course, depending on whether we've eaten something with it and we don't drink too much. Did anybody ever drink too much tequila? Did anybody ever drink too much bad tequila and say, oh my God, I'll never do that again? So we're still digging our way out of that negative image, aren't we? And I really appreciate each and every one of you being here and contributing your attention to this and any comments you have to help the agave spirits category go beyond that. Go beyond that image. And I say go beyond it because I don't want to deny that. I've had too many of those experiences to deny it. I mean, it's real. However, we know that that's not the only experience we can have. There are tequilas that are absolutely sublime. Gabby, who I asked to help me out in a comment, works with Casa Cuervo. They have a product which is called, it's in their 1800 range. You just came out with a coconut expression.
Yeah.
Well, another one of the 1800s is not coconut, it's called Colección. We sell it in our places, well, we sell it, but people don't buy it, they invest in it because it's like 125 pounds for 35 mil. And we've had a lot of takers on it. So we have this tequila that's still there that is not great taste perhaps, not great for our body. And then we have this other tequila that is absolutely wonderful, world class, like single malt whiskeys and scotches and cognacs, and then lots and lots in between. So let's, so there's, we've got the inebriating effect, we've got the energy that gives us, and we've got the taste. I would say that once a person becomes acclimated to agave flavors, it is one of its best assets. Just imagine that the flavor comes from this plant and the earth around it and all the conditions. Again, with this terroir idea. We don't have that with gin. We could have it with vodka. You know, there is a vodka here, Vestal, which actually tastes different according to from where it comes. It's wonderful. Gin is basically botanicals that have been added. Okay, well, there's nothing wrong with that, really. Whiskey, somebody mentioned Tom Bullitt. Somebody saw Tom Bullitt yesterday.
It was Edgar who we saw earlier.
Who works in the Royal Opera. He's not a dancer, though. He works, I don't know, he does something with television or something. But Tom Bullitt once told me, not recently, in Tales of the Cocktail a couple of years ago, that all of their flavor of their whiskey comes from their barrel. I said, did you say that? I said, yes. So, remember, I'm trying to sell you on this, right? So I have to try to I act like a purist and say, the flavor that comes naturally from the earth, from God, goddesses, bounty, is better than that comes from botanicals or a barrel. So you've just tried an unaged tequila, so that's pretty much pure agave. Although tequila does very well with aging as well. Casa Cuervo again has a Reserva de la Familia, which is profound, deep, rich, and I think it's got how much age in it, Gabby?
It's 3 to 30 years.
3 to 13 or 30?
30.
30 years. So that's another thing that this plant is going to give us, and that is a great variety of taste possibilities to sip and savor or to mix. So we could take one of the aged ones and use that. How's our time? How's my time?
Good question.
One of the worst things I have is to get done everything in the time that is allotted. We haven't even gone past the first yet. How's our time?
Got a half hour.
Half hour, yeah.
Half an hour?
Yeah.
Oh, that's plenty of time. Just relax, don't worry. I'll take care of us all. By now, maybe you should be tasting the other expression. You have 2 glasses. The next one is an experiment, an innovation that I did, which would have fit very well into Gary and Sandra's current cocktail lovers. This innovation is basically having taken unaged tequila and put cooked agave in there. Let's can we advance? So here's the plant being harvested. This is Ismael. Does Ismael still work with Casa Cuervo? So this is in the Tequila Valley. This is the way we harvest the plant after roughly 8 years. Again, please.
Tina?
Pardon?
No, no.
Oh, this is probably an espadín, which is commonly used in the mezcal culture. It is not allowed to be used in the tequila culture because there's only one variety, the Tequilana Weber Blue, which is allowed. This one looks very much like and behaves rather like the blue agave. So again, please, advance. Here's the way they grow in rows, about 3 meters apart and about 1 meter in between. That's probably the Tequila Valley again. Well, no, maybe it's Highlands because of the red soil. Advance again. Here's part of this explanation of the reproduction. This is a little pup, a rhizome, which can be removed. It is exactly the same as the plant. It's as much exactly the same as the plant as all these and all that. Now, up on that wonderful quiote, which is 3 to 4 meters high. There are two means of reproduction on that. One is a little bulbule, about the size of your little finger, which is a perfectly formed plant. Now, once this parent plant, which I would call a mother plant because it has the quiote, once it's dried and dies, either those little bulbules will fall off and earth themselves here, or this whole thing will fall over and they'll ground themselves. And besides that, it has flowers. And you see, I think those are bats. No, maybe there aren't bats.
You will see photos in a few slides. So.
Of some bats?
No, of the quiote falling over.
Oh, okay. So the bats will pollinate the flowers. We get seeds. And this is the one way that this plant reproduces sexually, which would mean we get something different from it, possible, genetically, while all the others reproduce exactly the same as that plant there. Here are some of the fantastic examples of the differences of this plant. Here's an idea of where they are distributed across Mexico. Some of them, like the Tobola, it's going to take, like, instead of 8 years, probably twice as much. And instead of getting a usable part of the plant, which is the base or the head, the core, the piño, because it resembles a pineapple, instead of getting roughly 35 kilograms, we're going to get like 8. I have one bottle of raicilla, which is basically a mezcal, made by a different name. If we think that cognac is a type of brandy, mezcal is a type of brandy, and raicilla is another type of brandy like Armagnac. So I've got a bottle of raicilla over at El Nivel, 15 minutes crawl away, that the plants were 21 years old before they were harvested. So just imagine how different that is. So if we advance again, now, what is it we're looking for? I can't remember.
I think you were talking about the...
Ah, yes, I'm looking for cooked agave. So here's this espadine. Okay, let's advance. Thank you very much. You get as much as you want to drink. Here is the harvest, and these men that do the harvest, both for tequila and mezcal, are not sissies, believe me. They are really tough guys. And they know their work very well, and they get paid very well. Let's advance. Here's the Tobola. That's that little beauty. This one, up until now, have grown wild. So just imagine, not only are you going to have to wait a hell of a long time, but you got to go out. You're not going to go to a field like a cornfield or a wheat field, and then you work all day there. You're going to walk around looking for it. It's like trying to harvest mushrooms.
Yeah, mushrooms, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, it's like truffles.
And it's small. Okay, let's go on. This is a Karwinski. This is a very strange one. So, the Tobola and the Karwinski are local to the largest producing area in Mexico currently, and that's Oaxaca, around the city of Oaxaca. These are probably little pups right here. I'm not sure, but they look like little baby Karwinskis. So let's go on. Well, here we can see, these are the Karwinskis, by the way, once they've been cooked. So that plant, having been cooked, it becomes, instead of white or white and green, it becomes this reddish brown, very sweet and juicy. And so what we've done with this curado is we've taken a Blanco tequila, we've taken some fibers. There's this part where the leaves attach to the body of the plant, like here as well, this part, are very fibrous. So we've taken some of those off of the cooked plants just out of the oven and steeped them in white tequila, like you would a tea bag. We've taken it
The
out.
main idea is to caramelize it, but with the agave sugar, right?
Did everybody hear that? The main idea is to caramelize it with the agave sugars. Yes. So the idea is to take what I feel is the balanced combination of Ocho, which are sweet, fruity, round qualities, and its dry acidity, and add a little more sweetness and a little more natural agave, cooked agave flavor. So that's what you've got in your hand there. And we're going
Oh, you
to...
haven't got one. Sorry.
no, that's okay. I'm just thinking of what we go to next. Are we able to... thank you.
So, what we're thinking is to move to the Reposado and the Añejo.
Yes. So if we can go next, again, if somehow we can...
If you could just finish everything in your hand, that would really be happy. But otherwise, we've got a bucket. Spittoon. So this is the Reposado. Okay, so I think the best thing to do.
So there's no age on the Curado. It's simply got this cooked agave in it. Okay, this... I know it's going to be a challenge for us, especially me, to have you get rid of what's in your glass and get some new stuff and talk. But because, or listen, but because we have such a limited amount of time, I will do my best. Are there any questions to this point?
For the caramel that you use for this curado, is always in the style of agave, or you use different styles of agave?
Yeah,
What agave do you use?
I think this is a bit confusing because so the slides are not necessarily in the order that he's talking about them. So
Tina, if we can go on, go ahead and explain it, Jeff.
So this is tepastate, just to show you an agave that's 35 years old. Propagation, there you've got the quiote. So this is cooked agave, but this is espadín for mezcal. If you keep going, this is mezcal production. Now we're in tequila. See the harvest, the cooking. There we go. So
It's. I tried to do a trick and talk about it
Without going in
to the real
much
one.
detail.
So it's actually from the blue agave only, and they're these, and it's these pieces that have that fibrous part to them. Is that answer that? Somebody else had a comment or a question? Yes.
It's a question. I've always wondered with mezcal, what do they do with all the leaves?
Okay, Melanie, you want to answer that? Because Melanie is here with her own mezcal, which is Kikiriki.
I don't actually know that anyone does anything with them, as far as I have seen. I have heard that some people weave them and make kind of sheets of matting with them, but I haven't seen any pancakes that I work with doing anything with them.
Does anybody else have an idea?
Yes.
Yes,
I
Gabi?
think this will be the same answer from agave as a blue agave,
Yes.
tequila, and many people actually use the leaves as a compost.
Mm-hmm.
Or in Mexico, many people actually, it's more expensive, but they do ropes, like in the old school times, they do ropes, they do clothing, they do bracelets, they do paper, and it's very kind of a artisanal paper, let's say, but they use something with it.
Thank you, Gabi, and thank you, Melanie. So just imagine you're out in the field and you've harvested that plant. You've cut the outer leaves off. You usually just leave them there and they will compost. Sometimes people will gather what's left over from the harvest, those leaves, the roots. Sometimes they're very dry leaves. I think we saw that on that very first picture. Sometimes they burn it. And then they take the ash and put it back through the soil. Good question. All those are good questions. Thank you. Now you have something new. You have the Reposado. Okay, so this Reposado is a different ranch, I believe, than the Maguillero. This is a ranch which is Los Fresnos, which is very different place from which La Maguillera comes. And this has the bare minimum. It has only 8 weeks, 8 days, 2 months equivalent in as used barrels as we could find from Carlos Camarena, the producer. So there, no thank you. I think you can, well, perhaps you can see in your own glass how pale it is. You may find that it's less likely that there is some effect of the spice from the wood. Still perhaps a little vanilla and a little bit of tannin. Some of the toasting or the burn on the inside of the barrel. So we went past the cooking aspect of mezcal very quickly. To me, so with mezcal, we can use a number of different species of the agave. Is that correct, Melanie?
Yes.
About how many?
It's about 40-ish, according to Common Cam at the moment. Is that right, Jesse?
Yeah, it's, well, basically, so within the norma for mezcal, the norma is the law that governs the production of mezcal, and tequila has its own, raicilla has its own, bacanora has its own, soto, which is not technically an agave, has its own. But they're basically the laws governing how it's produced. And so there's actually only 5 species of agave included in the norma. However, they say that they also include any local indigenous species, varieties, and subvarieties. So there's about 47 or 48 that we've found that are being used today to make mezcal. In principle, you could use even more, if that makes sense.
Okay, everybody got that? So that reminds me of something a Mexican friend of mine told me in Paris, Luis Oropesa. He said, with the French language, there's not too many rules, but very many exceptions. So this sounds like a rule that is simple, but has all these exceptions, which is Latin, right? It's Mexican or French together. Excuse me, Gabby. Is there any other Mexicans here? Any Mexicans with a knife or a weapon to hurt me with, or anybody else? I know you carry a knife, Gabby. So, with the mezcal, we can use a wide variety of species, which will be like wine. They will already give the spirit a different flavor. Just like a Cabernet Sauvignon grape will be different to a Sauvignon Blanc, as an example, and on and on and on. Second, with mezcal, so this is one of the ways of cooking the agave. We've harvested it, we brought it to the ovens, we put it in, and there are steam jets. Here it is before. So it's white, starchy carbohydrate, like partially filled. Once it's cooked, it changes it radically. There are different ways to cook, 2 major different ways in tequila. One is in a sort of an oven like this, and the other is in a pressure cooker oven, which is made from stainless steel.
Tina, if you do, next slide.
This
Autoclave.
cooking. Actually, let's go right on next to the diffuser. Okay, this and the next one is a diffuser. Both of these are diffusers. So right now we can talk about some differences. Some producers use this, especially it started becoming popular when agave prices were sky high. Because the agave takes 8 years to mature, the supply is very inelastic. If we need more agaves, we can plant all we want and all we can. But then we gotta wait 8 years, roughly. So the price of agave, because we don't know what the demand is going to be in any year, we don't know what the demand will be next year and the next year, etc., etc. So this is a very efficient way of getting the maximum amount of juice out of the agaves. It's very economical in time. I just read something, I can't remember the source. It was something online. Somebody else sent it to me and said, "What do you think of this?" I said, I sort of shrugged my shoulders. I don't know much really about diffusers, but it's a way to produce an agave spirit quickly. Is it only in tequila? No, there is one mezcal that I know that's in this market that also uses diffuser. So with the other ovens, the round pressure cooker type and the stone ovens, that is cooked with steam. The steam is pretty neutral. It goes into either container and steams them until they're done. What's really important there is the temperature and how long it is steamed, so that it can be, all those carbohydrates can be turned into sweeteners in a correct way. With the mezcal culture, you can see that it's much more artisanal, much more handcrafted. And in that pit that you, let's go back if you can, Tina. Back again. So there's harvesting again. That's
keep going.
Again. That's out of the oven. Okay, here they are. So there are actual pieces of wood that are. How's our time now?
Like 10 minutes.
10 minutes? Oh, great. Plenty of time. Except we have to have another drink.
Everyone's got añejo now.
Everyone has
We just
añejo.
need to get Kiki Riki out as well. So.
Okay, let's get Kiki Riki out. Let's get rid of this one. You see how, well maybe you can, how pale this is. This is 12 months in 200-liter American whiskey, former whiskey, white oak. It is a different ranch. This is Puertecito, which is the highest ranch. It's well above 2,000 meters. Is this the Kiki Riki or is this the añejo?
Everyone's got añejo already.
Okay, so go ahead and take a sip, a drink of the añejo, if you will, please. And if you can still keep your attention directed towards me while these beautiful girls offer you something to drink, it's hard to keep that balance of attention with that appeal. In this pit, there are burning or smoldering logs. So in a way, these raw pieces of agave heart that have been harvested after the leaves have been shorn, this is some of the bagasse which is covering them, which will help seal the heat and the smoke into this oven. So one of the major things that we could say about a comparison between mezcal, a generality between a lot of mezcals and a lot of tequilas, is that these mezcals are made artisanally in an old-fashioned way, old school, and they are cooked in this oven, and the agaves are smoked. And then if we go, progress, here's after, and then they're milled in this old-fashioned way again. Then the fibers and everything are put into the fermentation tanks. If you'll go back to the Tahona. The Tahona, this way, yes, thanks, Tina. The Tahona looks like a really artisanal way, and since everything's relative, who said that? Einstein? Everything's relative? This compared to what is used almost always, 99.99% for milling in the tequila industry is a milling machine. But there are actually mezcals and raicillas which, instead of this, they'll take a log like this on its side, and then they'll hollow out the inside of the log. They call them canoas, canoes. Then they'll take a hatchet, and they will mash it like that. Anybody wants to try one of those? I have a couple bottles of raicilla over at El Nivel that are made in that way. So, as a generality, again, the mezcals are made in a much more old-fashioned, craft, artisanal way. I would compare tequila and mezcal to tequila being Pilsner or lager beer, light, bright, full of lively flavors. Mezcal being deeper, like an ale, almost like food. Mezcals I think of as food, like ales. More profound flavor, richer, more layers. Which is better? Well, when would you want to have a beer, Pilsner, or lager beer, or when would you rather have an ale? Perhaps you like them both the same, but you like them at different times. So the state of play now is that mezcal is starting to have its day. Perhaps for two reasons, and I'll ask you to help me with this if you've got an idea. Anybody have a comment about why first of all is it tequila's day? And why is it becoming more and more mezcal? Why is it in the mode?
It's like the parent category. So, and it is more artisanal, like you say. It's a production method toward it, which is much more sort of, there's a mystique to it.
Excellent. Did everybody hear that? Does everybody agree? I would really believe that too. Number one, probably easy to say, tequila has been the new thing. It's been something that is new compared to cognac and Scotch whiskey. It's a new, exciting, new category compared to those. Mezcal is the newer thing. It's the next thing for early adapters to get to. And then there's this other, I think, very profound trend towards people wanting products in a slow food category. Slow food, can anybody help me by explaining what slow food is? The concept in general? That would be the antithesis, the opposite of fast food. Fast food being conformity, mass production, sameness, commercialization of products. That's fast food. That's fast food consumption and thinking. Slow food is the opposite. It encourages diversity. It encourages the raw material to be healthy and whole and to be processed in a way so that when you eat it, there's some meaning to it. I think perhaps what people are looking for in this globalized world, this mass-produced world, this world that is sameness, they're looking for some meaning in their consumption, whether it's of coffee, tea, yogurt, tequila, mezcal, marijuana. Just won it from Afghanistan. Well, I probably can't get anything from here. So yes, there's this whole craft movement. Craft beer is giant. Anybody here from Absolute? Okay, good. Nobody will get angry if I say anything about Absolute. I just got something from liquor.com, and they said, and it was an Absolute ad, and it said, for your craft cocktails. Craft is a big word now, right? Because why? Because again, it may have some meaning to us. It's not alienating. It gives us some comfort. Look no further than Absolute to make your craft cocktails with this, because we grow it We grow our wheat in this place around where we make it in one place. Well, does anybody know what yearly production absolute is? It must be millions of 9-liter cases. Would you say?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Then I just heard from somebody else that Tito's handmade vodka, same vodka category, handmade is now being tapped in the U.S. because they're saying, you're making millions of 9-liter cases a year. How can you say it's handmade? Well, the important thing is here that that's the key word: handmade, craft made. This is a big trend today. How's our time now?
We're basically at time, so if there's any questions left.
Yeah.
And wait, have you tried the kikiriki yet? So let's try the kikiriki.
San Juan del Rio, please, yeah?
Melanie, would you tell us about this? Would you come down here, or can you tell from there?
I can tell us a bit.
Okay.
This is kikiriki San Juan del Rio. So it's made in the village of San Juan del Rio, which is about a 4-hour, very windy drive outside of Oaxaca City. It's a unaged joven mezcal, so the same as Blanco Tequila, and it's made with espadin agave. It's made in Highland kind of village. However, it doesn't always apply the same rules. The taste comparisons of mezcals, they can be quite unique. But this one is kind of, quite floral and quite citrusy, not as smoke heavy as a lot of mezcals, yet you'd still get a smoky kind of flavour throughout predominantly. But I think it's delicious. And the guy that makes it is fabulous. It's very small batch, about 700 to 800 litres per roast, and he makes exclusively for my lovely brand. He's a wonderful man.
And is this 45?
This is the 48.
48. So, in my taste, that alcohol is very well integrated, and it's very complex. From the attack to the early mid-palate, later palate, there's lots and lots going on. Again, like an ale, very multi-layered. I wish we had more time to look at more slides and for me to try to sell you on this product more. Has anybody sold yet? Okay, thanks very much. I really appreciate you all having taken your time to come here. And thanks for your support of Agave Spirits.
Thank you.